What if I told you that the strongest person in the village was the one everyone thought was the weakest? This is the story of a boy, an ancient tree, and a drought that almost destroyed an entire village. But what saved them was something much deeper than luck. Stay with me. In a small African village, nestled near the edge of the golden savanna, there stood an ancient baobab tree. It was massive, scarred by time, but completely unshaken. The villagers called it the Tree of Endurance. This tree had survived lightning strikes. It had survived violent storms. It had even survived devastating famines. Its bark was cracked and deeply grooved, and some of its branches were broken, yet it still stood, a silent guardian watching over the land. And beneath that tree, you would often find a boy named Kato. Kato was an orphan. He had no father, no mother, no one to stand up for him. The other boys in the village would laugh at his torn clothes and his quiet nature. Some of the elders pitied him, offering a sad glance, but little else. Many others just ignored him completely, as if he were invisible. And slowly, tragically, Kato began to believe something dangerous. Maybe I was born unlucky. He saw himself through their eyes. Small, insignificant, and powerless. Then, one year, something terrible happened. The rains did not come. The life-giving river that snaked through their lands began to shrink, turning into a muddy trickle. The crops in the fields withered under the relentless sun, their green leaves turning to brown dust. The cattle, once fat and healthy, grew thin and weak. And then the final blow came. The village well, their last source of water, dried up. Panic spread like a wildfire. Fear was a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. Without water, there would be no life. Without water, there would be no village. A meeting was called under the scorching afternoon sun. The air was thick with despair. Some villagers argued, "We must leave. We have to abandon our homes and search for water elsewhere." Others whispered in defeat, "It is hopeless. There is nothing we can do." Kato sat at the very back of the crowd, as he always did. Quita invisible, feeling utterly powerless. That evening, as the sun bled across the horizon, he returned to his only refuge, the baobab tree. He looked up at its immense, silent form and whispered a question into the dusk. "Why are you still standing? Everything else is dying." "How can you still be here?" From the shadows behind him, a quiet old voice replied, "Because its roots are deeper than the drought." Kato turned to see Mz Jabare, the oldest and wisest man in the village, leaning on his walking stick. Kato sighed, his shoulders slumping. "Maybe the tree is just lucky," he said, his voice barely a whisper. The old man let out a soft, gentle laugh. "Lucky? That tree has been struck by lightning 3 times in my lifetime. Long ago, men from another place tried to cut it down. It stands not because it is lucky, Kato. It stands because it refuses to fall." That night, Kato couldn't sleep. The old man's words echoed in his mind over and over. Roots deeper than the drought. He tossed and turned, the phrase circling in his thoughts. And then he remembered something. A piece of old knowledge, a story told by grandparents. Baobab trees are known to store vast amounts of water inside their massive trunks to survive the dry seasons. Everyone in the village knew this fact. but no one had ever dared to act on it. The tree was sacred, an ancient spirit of the land. To harm it was unthinkable. But lying there in the dark, Kato asked himself a powerful question. What is more sacred, a tree or the lives of my people? Before the sun had even begun to hint at its arrival, Kato made a decision. Trembling, he took a small, sharp tool and approached the great bay. His heart pounded in his chest. "If I am wrong," he whispered to the ancient bark, "forgive me." He started to carve, carefully, gently, with the utmost respect. He didn't want to hurt the tree, only to see if the stories were true. At first, nothing. Just dry, fibrous wood. His heart sank. Had he been a fool? Was he about to desecrate their most sacred landmark for nothing? Then he saw it, a single, clear drop. Water. It clung to the wood, shimmering in the pre-dawn light. His heart raced. He kept carving, and another drop appeared. 10. Another. He pressed his ear against the trunk, and he could hear it. A faint, deep gurgling, the sound of life, hidden away from the world. By midday, working tirelessly, he had filled a small clay container. He turned and ran into the village square, his voice hoarse from shouting, "I found water! I found water!" At first, they laughed at him. The boy who was always unlucky. The boy who spoke to trees. "Kato is seeing mirages," one said. "The heat has gotten to him," said another. They dismissed him until they saw the container in his hands, until they saw the clear, life-giving water sloshing inside. He led them, a stunned and silent crowd, to the baobab tree. The elders approached with reverence. They saw the small opening he had made, and the water slowly seeping out. With their own tools, they widened the opening carefully, respectfully, thanking the tree for its sacrifice. And that day, the baobab saved the village. For weeks, until the rains finally returned, the tree sustained them, and the boy they had once ignored, the boy they had called unlucky, was the one who saved them all. Kato was no longer invisible. He was a hero. When the drought finally broke, and the rains returned in a torrent, thunder rolled across the sky like a triumphant drum. Mz Jabari sat beside Kato under the recovering baobab tree. Once again. "You see now?" the old man asked, a knowing look in his eyes. Kato nodded, a slow, profound understanding dawning on his face. "I always thought I was unlucky," he said, "but I just hadn't grown my roots deep enough yet." The old man smiled, his wrinkled face full of warmth. "The drought did not come to destroy you, Kato. It came to reveal you. Listen to me carefully. Some of you watching this right now feel like Kato. You feel ignored, overlooked, unlucky. You feel like the world is against you, and you're just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. But maybe you are not weak. Maybe you are just in a drought. Storms do not break the tree with deep roots. Hard seasons do not destroy the person who refuses to give up. Those scars you carry are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you survived. The pain you feel is not a punishment. It is proof that you are growing, and just like that baobab tree, you may bend, you may crack, You may feel like you are standing all alone, but if your roots of belief, of resilience, of courage are deep enough, you will not fall. If this story touched you, if it resonated with that part of you that knows you're stronger than you think, I want you to do one thing. Go to the comments and type, "I refuse to fall." And be sure to subscribe for more stories that remind you of who you really are. Thank you for watching.